Hey everyone, it is Mama Susie, Susie Simply Handmade. I am going to show you how to make some fun fabric flowers tonight. This is one of the ones that we're going to be making, and then I'm going to show you two other kinds. So really quick and simple, you're going to need a 3-inch circle, just paper, copy paper, whatever. You're going to trace a 3-inch circle. Use whatever you have around your home, a little mason jar, whatever you have that might be 3 inches, or if you have a circle of, some kind, you can use ribbon containers will work great. Just lay it on your fabric. You want to double your fabric up for how many ever layers you're going to need. You're going to need 6 for this flower. You're going to need 6 for the next one that we're going to do, and then you're going to need a strip of fabric about 2 inches by 15 inches long. Okay, so 2 inches tall by 15 inches long. That's what we're using for the third flower. So you're just going to lay this on your fabric that is flipped right sides down, because you want to draw on the back side where you can see your circle that you've drawn. So just take a pen, trace your 3-inch circle, cut them out, and like I said, you'll need 6 of these, and then I have 6 in a different color. So next, let's get started on the flower itself. Okay, you're going to need a needle and thread. I'm using a big, like embroidery type needle that's a little bit easier to handle. You're going to take your circles, you're going to fold them in half, and then in half again, and then you are going to stitch from the corner of the rounded corner here over to this corner, okay? And this is just a simple running stitch. You're just going to place your needle up through the bottom, back down through the top, and keep doing that all the way across. And it does not matter how far apart your stitches are or anything like that. You don't want them to be super long, but they don't need to be tiny either. It just takes a couple stitches to get clear across. Make sure that you go down and come back up through the bottom, okay? Come back up through so that your needle comes out the top when you finish. So go down through and then weave, and then come back up through the other edge. It makes it easier to connect to your next flower petal. You're going to slide that all the way to the end of the thread. And then again, we're going to fold this one in fourths, and we are going to just, again, stitch. Like I say, just a running stitch, just down through the fabric, back up through the fabric. And end with your needle coming back up through, just like that, okay? Whoops. So see how I just have it woven through there? That's what you want. Just weave your needle through it and then pull, okay? All the way down against the other petal. And you're going to do this 6 times until you have all 6 petals woven onto your thread. So you're not cutting or anything. You're just continuing. Make sure that you have them laid out to where the rounded parts are all going to be at the bottom. They're all going to be going the same direction, okay? So let's finish stitching these together, and then I'll be right back. Okay, once you have all of your petals sewn on here, this is what it's going to look like. It's just going to actually form like a little circle, okay? And then we are going to start pulling these to make your flower, okay? All you're going to do is carefully slide these down your thread, and you want to keep them all the same direction. Keep them flipped the same direction, and you are just going to pull those kind of tight. Now you're going to need a good sturdy thread for this, and be gentle. Don't yank on your thread too hard. And as that pulls together, it is going to start to form your flower. And then all you have to do is take your needle that's still attached here, and you're going to run it from this edge over into the outside petal that you started with, okay? And you're going to pull all of that nice and tight, and then you're going to go on the back side of this flower, and you're going to take your needle and run it through a little bit of fabric there, not anything too much now, because you don't want to see it on the front side. So just make a couple little tiny stitches, and then run your needle back through your big loop and pull it a couple times, and that is going to form a knot that's going to hold your flower in place, okay? Now, one thing I forgot to mention when you're stitching these together, it does not matter which side of the fold is on which side when you are putting these all on your needle. As you can see on mine, most of my folds are going the same direction. Like here's the open side here, here's the open side, here's the open side. But here I have one that the open side's on this side. It doesn't matter. The petals are still all the same shape and form, so it doesn't matter which side your petals are flipped to when you stitch them together. Just so they're all stitched together like this, and then you knot it on the back. We're going to trim that thread, and then we're going to be ready to add a center. Okay, so I've chosen just a cute little button here, and we're just going to hot glue that right in the middle. When adding your button, be sure that your button or your centerpiece is large enough to cover all the ends of your petals so that you don't have any frayed edges, you know, showing underneath of your button. Okay, make sure that your button covers it really nicely, just like that. Okay, so now I have these two finished that look like this. Next, we're going to do a different kind. Okay, the next one we're doing again 3-inch circles, but we're just going to fold these in half and stitch these all together on the same needle. Okay, so we are literally just going to do the running stitch again, just like this, in and out of your fabric, just up through and down back through, and try to end the same way that I told you before. Start down through and end with your needle coming up through. It makes the front edges of your petals to be going the same way so that when you start your next petal, they just meet up nicely. I don't know what it is, but it just works. So again, just fold it in half. This time I almost folded it in 4. So just fold it in half, and again you're going to do that running stitch with all 6 petals until you have it ready to pull tight. Okay? Okay, I did the same thing on this one. I went ahead and pulled all 6 petals tight, and then I'm going to just bring it over close to the first petal that I started with, and we are going to put a couple little stitches in this and just stitch this right together so that the flower closes up and makes one continuous circle. Okay, just like a flower would be with all the petals side by side, and then you're just going to tie it off with a little knot. Just bring your needle through and loop it through the big loop a couple times and pull, and that will make it'll form a knot. I do that a couple times, not just once, but I do it a couple times to make sure that it forms a nice knot. And then we're going to trim that, and we are going to choose a button and hot glue it in the center, and you're going to make sure all of your petals are flipped the same direction and kind of even them up just a little bit, spread them out there, even them up, make it look really pretty. And then you're going to choose something cute or pretty for the inside, and you're going to have the prettiest little flower. So let's see what color we should put over here. I've got some, oh, that blue's pretty. I think we'll go with that. Let's trim that fabric off. Now this just came out of I have a little button stash, and I like to just save them and use them on all different types of projects, so this works great for these little flowers, because like I say, they're good size, and you need to make sure, once again, that you cover that center where it pulls together, or else you will see all of those loose, frayed you know, threads and fabric at the end. So make sure that you have a button that is large enough to cover the entire opening and all of your little threads. Okay, then you'll have a little button that, a little flower that looks like this. Now the back is like that with a little opening. If you want to cover that, you could just cut a little tiny circle of fabric and hot glue that right on the back. If you want to make this an actual flower, you could just take a skewer, glue it on the back right here, and then cover it with a little circle of flour, or I have some little wooden circles. I would put that on there, glue it down to hold your skewer, and then you would have a little flower that you could put in a vase or something. Okay, for our last flower, we're going to take this strip of fabric. I told you guys 2 inches. It is actually 3 inches. So 3 inches, I'm going to fold that over about 3/4 of the way up and leave a little overhang. And then along the folded edge, I am doing my running stitch, okay? And then I will finish this up and we'll be back. Okay, so I've finished my running stitch all the way across the bottom. I'm going to pull that tight, okay? We're going to pull it tight. Again, we are going to stitch one side to the other really quickly. And I am going to leave my different sizes on the top edge so you can see that detail. Okay, once I've gathered that tight and tied it together to keep the, you know, and knotted it up, then this outside edge, the 2 ends are going to be loose. You can either stitch those together or put a little hot glue in here to glue this last part. Then your flower is ready, except for adding a center. I have a really cute little button here. We're going to just put some glue right there, pop that in there, and then you have the sweetest little flower. So here are the little flowers that we made. I hope that you guys will give these a try. I hope you enjoyed them. Thanks for watching.